Hello, and welcome to another Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. I am John Schaefer, and this week I am joined by one game developer, Michael Plummer. We are continuing to work on our Gathering Forces, which is essentially we are working on new armies for Star Wars Legion over the month of May. So each stream that we're going to have will have a different pair of people getting together, working on their armies as we try to get a skirmish force completed by the end of May. So with that, why don't we switch over to some miniature shots, and we can get started on this week's projects.
How's it going, John?
It's going very well. Thank you. Allow me to just switch my feed here to the right camera. There we go. Okay, let's get some lights on this thing that I am working on. Michael, what are you working on this week?
I am working on my Rebel officer, Mr. Jeff Brexler here. I did have a little bit of a camera issue, so he's a little blurry today. Apologies to everyone that is watching, but I promise that there will be a beautiful shot on Instagram when he is finished.
Nice.
And hopefully you get the rough idea.
Yeah, most definitely. So we there was a lot of discussion last week with Will and Michael as they kind of forged this character with the help of chat. This is your Rebel officer that you're using to issue commands to the rest of your forces when Operative Luke Skywalker is around chopping things up, right?
That is correct. This is Jeff Brexler. He is the leader of the illustrious Rusty Hawks, his band of scrappy rebels who are fighting for their freedom. It's one of the things I actually really love about the rebels in Star Wars is that they're just people. They're regular people that are, fighting for their homes, and I think that's cool. So it was really fun to, kind of chat with Schick and make a character and build my own little story around my army. I love doing that stuff.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite things about generic commanders and things is that you can just, their story will be created over the course of battle.
Oh yeah, and the stories you have about the crazy things they do and weird things that happen in games. It's just one of my favorite parts of playing miniatures games is telling stories about it years to come.
Definitely, very cool.
What are you working on today? Some droidicas?
Droidicas, yeah, they're one of my favorite things in all of Star Wars. They are super cool. I could not resist painting up a couple of them. I'm going to be doing the wheel modes as well, but this week I am going to be focusing on getting the two primary miniatures painted, which I've gotten one of them largely finished, so I can show everyone what that one is going to look like.
Oh, that's great.
This is kind of the goal. This is what I'm shooting for here. This fella. So this is going to kind of tie in with the color scheme that I kind of set up previously, which is a lot of greens and kind of a bone color. I really wanted to keep that copper carapace color that that you see on film, and I really liked how in some of the reference images that we saw it kind of tapers down. It has this kind of anodized look to the metal where it kind of like fades into a purple. Yeah. And I'm liking how that's turning out. I think that's looking pretty cool. So it's making the scheme a little bit more busy than what I'm accustomed to because I kind of introduced this copper color into the two shades of green, bone color, and a black. But I'm liking how it's turning out. I think it's looking pretty cool. So
yeah, I like it a lot. I think it goes really well with that green, and it was a really, really good choice for your metal color. I like it.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate that. So yeah, it's and I kind of opted to go instead of going with green eyes, I went with these like bright blue kind of glowing orbs. I think originally I was thinking about treating them just like regular lenses, and with kind of like a little highlight in the corner and black, but it started to make them look a little too cute. I think just kind of like almost like anime eyes or something as I was painting it. So I opted to go for these just kind of like flat, kind of lifeless droid eyes with a little bit of glow to them, and I'm liking how that's turning out. So
I like it. Glows are a lot of fun to paint in general. So anytime I can get a glow in there, I go for it.
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, I'm just going to be chipping away at these. I guess for anybody that hasn't really checked out what we've done up to this point, it might be handy for us to show off the list that we're planning. So again, we're doing skirmish-sized forces, so 500 points. It's going to be played on a 3x3. And for those that are unaware of the skirmish format, it's downloadable content that you can find on the Fantasy Flight website, where we're currently hosting a number of documents, including the skirmish format. And there's some unique battle cards that you can download and print yourself and play. Definitely very cool.
Yeah, and it drops down the army sizes a little bit and go down from 800 down to 500 points. So you're dealing with fewer miniatures on the table. It's a great way to start playing the game if you are maybe haven't jumped all the way in yet, or just a shorter game. You only have a little bit of time on a Saturday afternoon. Playing a skirmish game is a perfect fit. I have a very busy life a lot of the time outside of work, so I don't get a ton of time to play with my miniatures in my free time, unfortunately. So anytime that I can find a neat little fun way to play with my minis and still have time to do all my chores. That's a huge win.
Yeah, totally. I think, another interesting aspect of it is that, the smaller play area kind of makes certain units a little bit more potent because, especially things like fleet troopers and B2s, like anything that has like a range 2 gun, the enemy can only get so far away from you when you're on a 3x3 board. So I think it kind of changes the battlefield role and kind of the effectiveness of certain units because they can just get into grips a little bit faster. Melee units like Vader and Operative Luke running around on the table is going to be terrifying for a lot of players. When we actually get to playing some games. So it's
I hope so, because he's a lot of my points. So
he is a lot of your points. Yeah, you've gone in deep. Well, I've done the same thing. I went in with Grievous, and he's no drop in the bucket either. So it's he's almost half the points just by himself. 100 with his gun, I think it's like 182 points. So yeah, definitely involved.
And someone in Atomic Mass Games in the chat is mentioning that I did use the head from Agent Callus. I did a very small conversion on this miniature. Basically, I just cut off the head of the rebel officer, and he had a beard that kind of went down the front of his chest. So I shaved that down a little bit and tried to make it look like a shirt collar about as best as I could. And then I pinned the Callus head on the top, and I think it came out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, totally. I like that mutton chop head quite a bit. It's very cool. I opted for the helmeted version for mine, and I have some regrets, I think. So I'll probably just have to paint another Callus at some point just so I can get my mutton chop quota in.
They are important.
Vital even.
And people did ask last week what my command cards are going to be for my army, and I had not entirely decided on them yet, but I have now. So my 1 pips are Son of Skywalker and You Serve Your Master Well. For 2, I'm taking Push, and my ally is the Force. My 3s are I Am a Jedi, Return of the Jedi, and of course, Standing Orders. So I went pretty all in on Luke cards, but let's be real, I've gone pretty all in Luke all around.
Yeah, well, I think you should. Really, I mean, that's going to be the cornerstone of your strategy, I think.
I mean,
Son of Skywalker, like a must include, like letting Luke attack 2 times. Ugh.
Yeah,
brutal.
That's gonna be pretty brutal. But I'm gonna need it because I've seen that Dallas has a tank, so
yeah, you can give him the old 1-2 chop. I think.
Yeah, gotta have something to break through that.
Yeah, hopefully in the gameplay we can see if that is enough to take down the mighty saber tank in just 1 turn. We shall see. In terms of my command cards, I went all in with Grievous as well. So I took Trained in Your Jedi Arts. That lets him kind of like jump forward and chop everybody within range, which is definitely really cool. A big multi-attack. I took his other Supreme Commander one, which lets him throw out some surge tokens to some other units. And it's that'll affect the 2 B2 units that I have in my list. What else did I choose? I took all 3 Grievous cards. So Crush Them is also really good. I like that because it's General Grievous and 2 other units. So since I only have 2 core units and I've got 2 support units in my force, it's good to have that flexibility to be able to throw the orders down whenever I need to. And then I took a couple from the specialist kit, the Separatist Specialists. I took the Orbital Strike, which that one just sounds super fun. Just dropping bombs on people.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that one's definitely really cool. That one I can only really issue an order to Grievous with, but that's fine. I'm probably going to be focusing on, getting him into the thick of things anyway. So what else did I take? Mechanized Incursion, because I do have 2 vehicle units, both the Droidekas and the Stap Riders that are in my list are both going to be a pair of vehicles. And As the last one, I think I just took Assault because I just wanted the flexibility to be able to throw down orders on whatever units I wanted to, whenever
Yeah,
I really needed to.
it's always nice to kind of have that assault card where you can, when you have that turn where you don't necessarily know exactly what you want to do, throwing down assault, being able to throw out orders to basically anything you want. Fantastic.
Yeah, you're going to need that, I think. There's just going to be some turns when I just need to issue an order to, like a support unit and Grievous and a core unit.
And especially because you've gone so all in on those Grievous cards. Just a nice
generic
simple cards are good.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some mighty duels, I think, in between a few characters. Grievous versus Luke, perhaps. We'll have Iden Versio, I think, is what Will's bringing to the table. Iden probably doesn't want to get into melee. She would much rather shoot you from afar, I think. But still, she's no slouch.
I mean, what I really want to see is Jeff Brexler versus generic Clone Commander.
Yes. For the welterweight championship.
Yeah,
I'm all for that. That sounds amazing.
So
I'm excited for a little bit of gameplay. It'll be cool. So I think we're talking about doing a little bit of streaming of that stuff in June after we get all these forces painted. So it'll be fun to get these on the tabletop, see if our best laid plans actually come to fruition or if we are left wanting.
Just talking about some of the color choices I made here. I use generic jungle camo green for my rebels, but on Brexler, I gave him this gray coat, and I decided that he stole that from a rebel officer, or not a rebel officer, excuse me, an Imperial officer. Nice. So that's kind of the route that I'm going to go with that one. And in a minute here, I'm going to start painting on sort of the patches. He has this cool sort of, patched on part on the back of the jacket, and I'm going to make it a bright yellow, which I think is going to look really, really good with the green, be a nice splash of color kind of amidst everything. My rebel troopers have different headbands to delineate which unit they are. So he's going to get a little splash of color here.
Yeah, very cool. About it. I like that. I like that little story that you have going on there.
Well, it also just helps me know what's what on the table.
It's such a rebel thing to do too, right? Just stealing Imperial uniforms and for ops and getting behind enemy lines, and
it's a nice coat.
Yeah, definitely. Why would you let that go to waste?
Yeah,
it's kind of quintessential Star Wars tactics. Seen it done many times. My overall theme for my force is just largely based around Kashyyyk. So I know there's a lot of units in here that were not seen in Revenge of the Sith. But I just kind of wanted to go with this kind of green color scheme. We've got a bunch of Kashyyyk-based stuff coming out later, so those will be great things to add to the force later on. And yeah, it'll be a fun. I think it's entertaining to kind of come up with a color scheme that's kind of loosely based off of what you've seen on film. And a lot of, the color scheme that I have obviously has some green, so there's kind of like some makeshift camouflage going on. But a lot of it's based off of references of the AAT tank driver, who's got a really cool green markings on his armor. And that's kind of how I'm painting all my B1s. And I'm definitely going to be adding a AAT or two to my forces, some other stuff too. So yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about doing these kinds of things with friends, starting new armies and putting things together, is just seeing it all when it's done. Because color schemes are great when you're looking at a single miniature, but I always get blown away when I see any color scheme put across an entire force. It just all comes together so well and makes this beautiful picture on the battlefield. And it's a big part of why I play these games. I love seeing the picture on the table. Yeah. So I'm excited to see it all finished.
Yeah, me too. It's that kind of like cohesive appearance and variations on the same color scheme. Yeah, I love that too. That's kind of one of I would consider myself more of an army painter than anything, because I just, like you said, I love seeing the final result of several miniatures that are kind of tied together with some visual devices or a theme, or it's just that overall presentation is like really, really satisfying for me. I like that a lot.
Oh yeah, I really like that. That's pretty good.
Most definitely.
I think Jeff Brexler's a redhead. What do you think, John?
Well, yeah, he seems fiery.
Yeah, and I think he's young and impetuous. And when I was younger, I had red
Like
hair.
all redheads are, of course.
Well, no. So my mom. So when I was growing up, I had red hair, and my mom used to give me a hard time about it. So this is for mom.
Nice.
Plus, I think it's going to look good with the yellow. And I've recently kind of practiced painting red hair because I got really good at painting blonde hair about 5 years ago. I just kind of practiced it for a long time and figured out some colors that I really like to work with. So moving on to get some other hair colors in here.
So what's your recipe? Do you start like with a lighter brown and then shade down, or
so I start with sort of a mid-tone brown, and then I will I'll do a wash with sort of a chestnut brown to get a little bit of warmth in there, then go back and highlight it all with the mid-tone brown, and then I mix in some yellows. And what I do is I highlight sort of like the middle section of the hair, like along the crease, and then I'll skip small parts, so you'll get one highlight that's a line, and then there's a break in it, and then another piece, and then and just bring it up maybe like 2 levels to like a nice bright yellow, and it comes out really well.
Nice. Yeah, I have similar formulas for things, where you just kind of like devise like a certain combination or set of steps in order to do similar things.
And one of these days I'm going to get smart and I'm going to write something down, but today's not that day.
Well, unless you are planning on having a lot of redheads in your rebel force, which you might, who knows? Maybe it won't matter this time around.
The biggest problem I have is I have a tendency to not write things down and then come back to an army a year later and not remember what colors I used or how I did something. But
you know what I often do is I'll just take like a photograph because I have all that stuff on my phone. I don't have to worry about organization or anything. I just put the miniature and then I put the paints that I use behind it. And that was usually enough of a cue to be like, oh yeah, I used that shade of green on that guy. Or
you just changed my life.
Yeah, it's a simple thing, but
yeah, I like that.
Anyway, helps me. So yeah, I've got all these like kind of random cameo photographs of half painted miniatures and bottles of paint on my phone. And it's good. Yeah, you can just always go back and refer to that. And then all that stuff gets backed up to the cloud, so I can access it just about anywhere if I change phones or whatever else. So. That is my approach.
These mutton chops are great. They're mighty.
How many highlights are you going to put on those?
Maybe 10 at this point. They're majestic.
That's the rest of the stream. Is just
I gotta make this
mutton
look
chop
right.
highlights. I like it. I'm doing kind of like the kind of like time-consuming task of just base coating all this black in here. I opted to go with a bone-colored base because that's kind of what I primed the rest of the forces that I have. But bone is like one of the least common colors in this particular scheme. I think if I had to do it over again, I might prime them black. But layering up bone over top of black is never really that fun. So maybe it's okay.
That sounds like a little bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, it can be kind of a little tedious, I guess, but it all just goes about, however you want to approach it, I guess.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, there's no wrong way to paint a miniature.
Oh, yeah. It's
whatever gets you where you want to be, right?
Yeah, totally. I want to kind of speed through this part right here because the most fun in this scheme is that metallic carapace. I like the copper and the purple, and I want to work on that for the rest of the stream, I think.
Nice.
Try to get through that part of it. That's an enjoyable bit.
I came into this and I was like, well, maybe I'll finish the base coats on this guy today and that'll be great. But it's actually going a lot faster than I expected. So that's exciting. I might actually get to some highlights here.
Nice. Well, yeah, I thought your Rebel Troopers are looking sharp, man. They're definitely really cool. Everybody's looking really cool. Really great color choices. Dallas's clones look amazing. Will's Ultra Blue Imperial Forces, super cool. Your Rebels are looking great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all this stuff together. It's gonna be really cool.
The only thing I haven't done on my Rebel Troopers yet that I want to do is I have some flowers that I want to put on the bases because I think it gives a lot of life to whatever world they're fighting on. I just haven't gotten around to doing the flowers on the bases, something like that. Those kind of finishing touches. I usually do those on an entire army when it's finished.
Yeah, totally. So looking in the chat, it looks like Peppery Rock is asking if there's a guide for the coloring, like what we're using here. So we're using a number of different paints, kind of across the board. my color scheme, going back to this miniature, I'm mostly using scale 75 paints with some Vallejo stuff, a little bit here and there. But the main colors that I'm using for the green, I've got black green from Vallejo. And I've got golden olive for the lighter green color. Yeah, but there's just a lot of different colors, really. I think that we usually don't get too bogged down with the specifics on exactly what colors we want to use. It's just kind of like a lighter green and darker green. We use a lot of different brands, a lot of different paints, kind of spread all over the place. So yeah, I don't think we want to be too prescriptive, I guess, on like exactly what colors to use if you're looking to duplicate it. But if you have specific questions and you want to know like what shade is this color or that color, we could probably help you out.
Yeah, my guide is usually my heart. I like to mix a lot of paints, so I'll throw something down, and if I'm looking on the palette and I'm like, oh, that's not quite as dark as I want it, I'll try and mix in something that's a similar tone but maybe has a little more richness to it. I don't use a lot of things straight out of the pot these days.
I don't really either. I think a lot of times it's I might use like one color for the base, and then I'll pick out like whatever the highlight color is, and then I just mix them together to do all the middle tones. And then I like to go back in and kind of glaze with some other colors too. Like you can apply like some blues and reds and things to the shadows. I know Dallas is a huge fan of that. He does that to great effect, where he'll take these kind of contrasting colors and utilize them in the color scheme to great effect.
Yeah,
and Dallas. It's just more kind of fun. You just kind of jump around a little bit and experiment a little bit, and you can kind of figure out your own recipes, and that just makes it that much more unique and personal, right? Where it's, instead of just following a specific guide and having a force that's going to look exactly like somebody else's, take inspiration from it, but forge your own path with it too.
Yeah, painting with Dallas has really changed the way that I look at painting a lot, because it's like a lot of people I paint with, and they would tell me specific colors and this and that, and I'd be talking to Dallas and be like, hey, what do you think would look good with this? And he'll be like, red. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. And it just kind of changed the way that I think about it. And I'm like, well, yeah, red would look good. What red do I want? And then I just make my own. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's beautiful. So it's been really freeing to just kind of paint with my heart.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think that Dallas really thinks about painting miniatures in artistic terms, where you're using a lot of color theory, you're bouncing back and forth, using unconventional colors to shade other colors, because it's in the world of art, there's so much variation, of course, but generally there's a lot of like really interesting colors that are mixed together, utilizing the color wheel and color theory, some other general techniques to achieve like really dramatic results. And I think a lot of that translates directly to miniatures too, right? Like it's
absolutely
very similar. You have a 3D surface as opposed to a flat canvas that you're working on, but a lot of it translates.
I myself have sort of an unspoken rule when I'm coming up with a color scheme, and that's 3 colors and a splash plus metals.
Okay.
So I get 3 colors that I can choose that I can use for like the main parts of my miniatures, and one of those is usually kind of not used a whole lot. And then I have a splash color that could be something outrageous if I want to use a magenta or a purple for little details. But I try and keep it simple, because I want to finish my army. And I'm, Dallas talks a lot about the destiny of your miniature, and the destiny of most of my miniatures is to lose me games. So I want to get them done so that I can do that.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. Cool. So have you thought very much about how you might expand this force? Like what's going to be up next? I know we're only halfway through at this point. We're not very deep into it. We still have a lot of painting to do for this month, but
yeah, of course. Well, I think next up I'm definitely gonna have to paint some more Rebel troopers and maybe pick up some veterans, because I'm gonna need more core options to get more activations as I expand up into 800 points, just to make sure that I have the same kind of board presence as everyone else, and enough actions and gameplay time and miniatures to move around the board and hit objectives and things like that. So definitely going to be focusing on some core units. I am also going to be painting some Mandalorians after I finish this to add, just because I love Mandalorians and I love the option of them. So yeah, I'm gonna be focusing on a lot of core choices, and eventually I'm going to paint the Landspeeder which I decided is Jeff Brexler's. So that's actually primed and on the desk, but I don't get to paint it until I finish the army. So
Oh, I love that. I love him. Like just picturing him standing up in the back of the thing, shouting orders as he zips around.
I'm all about it. How about you? What are you looking at?
Definitely AT tank. That's going in there for sure. I don't know. Like, there's so many awesome characters. Like, I want to put Cad Bane in here. I want to put Darth Maul in here. I'll paint them all. You know, it's like it. But it's as far as the core, I definitely need some B1s. I think just because like that's kind of a fundamental part of the separatist strategy in a lot of cases is just like this total control over your order pool.
Yep.
And you know, the B1s, they relay the orders to other units that are nearby, kind of like the Staff Riders do. But you know, they can only do it for droid troopers. And I think I will definitely be looking at some B1s, probably a couple units of those, get those in there. And yeah, I don't know. Like there's, you know, all the Kashyyyk stuff that's coming up. There's a lot of really cool stuff there.
Yep.
Magna Guards, amazing. Definitely going to put them in. I'll paint all sorts of stuff, you know, but I think like if I was going to prioritize the list, it's going to be B1s first and AAT because I just really want to paint that tank.
That's
I started one on stream a really long time ago, and it's just kind of been sitting there on my shelf staring at me while I paint Imperial stuff, and it's the time is now. The time is now to finish it, I think.
I'm also one of these people, like, I'm not necessarily just going to build for one 800-point list. Like, I have this 500-point skirmish list that I'm going to be able to play, and then I'm just going to paint a bunch of miniatures that I like. And generally, before I go play a game, I just make a list and I go. I'm not a person that, you know, I have one specific army list that I play all the time. I really like to use all of my miniatures and kind of decide what I'm in the mood to do. Like some days I'm going to be in the mood to jetpack across the table, and other days I'm just going to want to have a lightsaber in there. And, you know, however I'm feeling on any given day, that's what's coming to the table.
Yeah, my friends and I, we typically play like unconventional points values too. Like we'll play big, massive games, like, you know, 2,000 points aside or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
And just for the spectacle of it all, you know, and we just sit down and we just make a whole day of it. Now we haven't since quarantine, but it's, you know, the last game that we played was a massive Hoth battle.
That's cool.
Imperials versus Rebels, and it was awesome, super fun, really, really entertaining. We kind of like worked out a multiple activation system, and it was kind of a team game where we had 2 players per side, and yeah, it worked out pretty well. It was fun.
That's awesome. I love it when people, you know, make something their own and just have fun with it. It's a game to play, not a serious, right?
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, that's right. What I'm scheming on. You know, once we get back to playing games, which I feel like we're close. Like most of my friends are getting, you know, their second vaccination in. We're just gonna wait that 2-week period and then just jump back to our local game store, you know, and get our.
That's awesome. I'm excited for that too. I've actually got all my base coats done here. I think this guy's ready to get some shading, and maybe I'll paint that grass on the base. Start with that.
Just burning through. Bring any backups? You're gonna finish that guy.
I should put some ink on here first because it's gonna need to dry, or else I'm gonna have to mute and go to the blow dryer.
Yep. The all important let dry completely phase.
Yeah.
Of the paint job. It dictates so much, you know, especially when you're trying to get things done quickly.
Yeah. Sometimes I get a little lazy about it, and that never goes well. So sometimes I just have to practice that patience and tell myself to stop.
Yeah, most definitely. Nice. Chris says that he played his first game of X-Wing in person last night.
Oh,
congratulations to you.
Congratulations.
I bet that was
finding the other side.
Yeah. That is excellent. Yeah, X-Wing's another game that I'm definitely looking forward to getting on the table again. This new squadron pack brought a lot of new stuff to the game that are quite interesting. And we're going to be having some news next week. We're going to be start showing off Trident stuff.
Exciting. Yeah. That thing is cool.
Oh yeah, it is super cool. I remember helping playtest the scenarios in there because you have like solo play, this Leviathan hunt scenario where it's like a bunch of players kind of rally together to fight the thing, and it was the most fun of X-Wing I think I've ever had.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's just going to be good play games again and just make it all happen. I've been getting excited with everyone in the office around Legion a lot. Like Pagani's been pinning up some clones, and I'm working on my Rebels. He's just kind of coming along for the ride with us, which is great. And yeah, it's just exciting to see everyone getting excited about playing games with one another again and starting to get back into the hobby. I know that for me, the last year has been a kind of a painting drought. I haven't painted much. I've kind of been focusing on other hobbies and things because without the promise of playing games, what am I doing?
Yeah, sure. Well, it is a huge motivator, right? Like events and deadlines and things.
Yeah, totally.
I have been painting a lot. That's how I've been spending the majority of my time, really. That and kind of like working on stuff around the house, but
sure, that never stops.
Yeah, very true. But yeah, it's been nonstop good times with the painting. That's definitely been keeping me focused and in a good mental headspace. I think it's been nice to have, I don't know, just tangible progress, like something you can go back and look at and be like, yeah, you wake up in the morning and like, oh yeah, I painted that thing last night. Yeah. I'll go look at it again. Sometimes it helps with fresh eyes to take a look at something too, and you're like, ooh, that did not look as good as it did last night to me. In the wee hours of the morning, as I was throwing on highlights or whatever else.
I think it's also one of the greatest things about this hobby is that there's parts of it you can do with your friends and go play games, and then there's a piece of it you can do yourself at home. It's sort of a all-encompassing. Well, a lot of people call it a lifestyle hobby.
Yeah, I think that's true, right? Because like you're dedicating a lot of mental space to it. You're traveling to events to attend. You're spending a lot of free time. It's not just about playing the game, like you're committing a significant amount of time to it, and it's like, oh yeah, it's defining a lot of your lifestyle in a lot of cases. That's been the case for me for many years. It's miniatures games have been my main focus, my main entertainment, and like my friend group is all based around people that play miniatures games, and my work the same, everything, all that stuff kind of correlates in a cool way.
This is my favorite part of painting a miniature, is when you start throwing in the shades and any inks, because it's when it starts to come to life for me. I see all the cracks and the crevices. Yeah, kind of start to see what it's going to look like when it's done.
Totally. The base coating stage is never like super exciting, is it? It's just all right, well, I know these pants are going to be brown. I'm going to throw down that brown. And then
I get super discouraged during the base coating phase because I look at it, I'm like, this looks terrible. And and that's not true. It's just beginning. It's a fresh new baby miniature that has not quite reached its potential. And I kind of have to push through that part. It's my bane of my existence is base coating things. And that's why I do the airbrush step that I talked about last week, where I kind of I sketch in, I guess I would say, all my colors. I'm not trying to be perfect. There's definitely going to be overspray because it's an airbrush, it's not a brush, but it does some of the work for me and helps me push through that part a little bit faster.
Yeah, I think especially if you're like deciding on a new color scheme, just like mapping things out, that's usually like what takes the longest for me. Like, I'm sure that the second Droideka will take probably half the time that the first one did, because I was just trying to figure out colors and like going back and forth and kind of like experimenting with some different combinations of things until I landed on something that I liked. But once you get your formula down, it's
then it just cruises, and that's the beauty.
And you know what's up. Something like really satisfying about painting purple over top of copper. I don't know what it is. It's very, very relaxing for me.
It's a really nice look. It kind of gives it almost like a burnt look. Which I think is really cool, like sort of oxidized.
Yeah, I remember like some metalworking in college and stuff. There was like some really cool stuff you could do with like a torch and metals and different patinas and stuff. And yeah, I've always really enjoyed just the transition of color. Especially like when like really stark contrast, like almost complementary colors. Where you have like yellowy golds that go into purples, or blues that go into oranges and stuff. I think that's really cool. And I kind of just like blending stuff while it's still wet on the miniature. There's something kind of fun about that too.
Oh yeah, and you get those nice, really smooth transitions when you do that.
Well, sometimes I wouldn't say I'm the best at it, but
Yeah,
it's fun to just kind of slop paint around. You have to be, kind of aware and make sure to keep the paint kind of thin, but it's
sure.
fun to just let the things blend together and feather out the edges and kind of see the transitions happen in real time.
Sometimes it's fun to just try something and accept that maybe this isn't going to look great.
Yeah, totally. That's I think with each new miniature, I always try to like figure out some new thing that I want to challenge myself with. Like it's painting a color that I typically don't use, or material, or something that's gonna hopefully teach me a lesson. As I go through the process. And for me, it's this kind of experimentation on this metallic and the kind of purpley fade on it.
Well, for what it's worth, I think it looks really great. And very cool.
I really appreciate that. That's very nice. Oh, Grinch 511 is living the dream. He's talking about a campaign, and it's something that we talk about in the office so much. A campaign that spans both, or not both, but all Legion, Armada, and X-Wing. So your boarding actions on Armada and your dogfights that are happening. We kind of touched a little bit. I mean, you could have all those things happening simultaneously in unconventional warfare.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you developed. That was super cool. I know people loved it.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to do that and kind of bring the entire Star Wars miniatures gaming community together in a very small way, like not with boarding actions and things as deeply as you're talking about. But that's really cool, and I hope that they have a great time with that. And again, like make it your own, have fun with it. That's why we're all here in this hobby. Like totally, that's awesome.
That is super cool. That's just, I mean, we've been talking about that in the in the studio for a number of years. Is like it's kind of a complicated thing, and figuring out a system I think that can work and handle all the different possibilities.
For sure,
it's a challenge to make something that's simple and inclusive enough that it can be applied to any sort of combination that happens. I'm sure you are well aware of such challenges. But
well, I think the most important word you said there was simple, because like it's really easy to be like, oh, these would all be so cool, and then it's easy to make something that's too big. So yeah, more power to you. Have a great time, make it fun, make it your own, and keep going.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that sounds like a great thing to be to happen at like a convention, like Adepticon or Gen Con or something like that. That would be such a cool event. It's the cause and effect, I think, that's like the most interesting part of it, right? Where it's like, oh, because this happened, then this happens, And,
yeah, it's all about this, all about the story.
Yeah, definitely.
And the stories you tell, like.
I think that's something that we touched on last week too when I was talking to Dallas. It's I can't really ever remember like who won or lost games. I just remember like the crazy things that happened during the game, like the duels that happened, or like the unlikely hero that put the last wound on Darth Vader or something, to win the day. It's like that stuff is what resonates with me and the stuff that I remember.
I think it depends on the game for me. Like I've played a lot of games in my day, and I probably have about a dozen games where I definitely remember who won, and I'm mad about it. But that is not the majority of games. Most of my games, I remember something silly that happened, or I just remember hanging out with my friend and having a good time. Like that's what it's really all about for me.
Cool. It's very awesome.
Yeah, this is coming together. Starting to look like a person.
Look at him. Look at that russet hair.
Oh yeah.
Fabulous.
The thing I really like about painting the red hair is that I get to use orange, and orange is not a color that I get to use while I'm painting miniatures very often because it's so just bright and garish, and I rarely find the place for it that I feel is appropriate. So
I don't think you're alone. I don't see a lot of color schemes out there that lean on orange pretty heavily. It's kind of a rarity, really.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that that do it well, they really stand out, right? Like they really pop. But I think that's a challenge.
Yeah. I agree. The other problem I run into is when I want to use colors that are commonly used together. So, I don't want something to look like too common. So I don't know. I'm always just trying to make sure that my things are a little bit unique, and you can easily tell that it's mine.
Yeah, totally.
But I'm a lot like you. Like I'm a big hobbyist. I do paint a lot of miniatures. I haven't over the past year, but man, sometimes that's all I do at night. You're like, oh, it's free time to paint miniatures, and
oh yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing tonight, actually. I'm going to go out and grab a bite to eat with some friends, and then I'm going to come back home and I'm going to work on Droidicas.
Yeah,
This fella up.
I'm actually tonight gonna watch some Clone Wars and finish
nice.
Jeff Brexler. That's my plan.
Very cool. Very cool. What season you on?
I just finished the first season. Actually,
Okay.
We started at the beginning, and we're kind of cruising through it here at the apartment, and it's been great. Having a lot of fun with it. I went through and watched some of the key episodes first, and things that people told me like, oh, this is a really good episode. You should check this out. And these are some key story points. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch this whole thing. So we're cruising through, and it's fantastic.
Very cool. There's somebody curated kind of a list a while back that's like tells you how to watch them all in chronological order.
Yep, I have seen that.
Yeah, there you go. Could be an interesting way to go about it. Well, have you already watched it before? Is this kind of like a revisiting?
Yeah, it's sort of a revisiting for me. I've seen most of it, but now we're just kind of enjoying it. Just as kind of our main TV watch right now. Like we're just really into it and
solid. Oh yeah, that reminds me. There's a Bad Batch episode that just came out today too. I'll have to go check that out.
Wow.
I'm enjoying that so far. That's fun.
Yeah.
Those characters are pretty wild.
2. Well, I'm on my last ink that I need to do, and then I'm going to paint this grass, which is just sand.
I'm jealous of your progress. I'm in here base coating things and waiting for things to dry. I think I kind of bit off a little bit more than I should have decided to chew on this Droideka scheme. There's a lot of intricate little areas that need to be painted different colors.
Well, it'll be worth it though because they look great.
Yeah, totally. There's only 2 of them in the list so far, right? So
there you go.
I'll paint another unit, and I definitely got to do the wheel mode versions because I don't know. I'm the kind of person that just likes swapping out minis to like.
Oh yeah, they look cool.
Show the mechanics and stuff. I think that's cool. Definitely not necessary, but I think you need to do it.
All right, so now we can see all the grooves in there. Well, speaking of people's miniatures becoming their own, I think we were going to show off some of the awesome stuff that people have been sharing on Instagram, right?
Oh, yeah. Good call. I'd almost forgotten about that. Yeah, maybe if our switchboard operator could be so kind to bring up those images. We've got Will and Dallas showed off 3 of them. Mm-hmm. So just to remind everybody, if you want to follow along and participate with us as we paint new armies over the month of May, you can use the Gathering Forces hashtag and post your progress on social media. We'll check both Facebook and Instagram, mostly Instagram, but we'll look at both, and we'll pick our favorites each week and talk about them. So I'll start with this first one. This is by Mokim 2017, who is a very prolific painter. They have done a lot of different stuff on Instagram, and I really dig it. These look like Coruscant Guard to me. I think we saw them in a recent episode of Bad Batch even.
Yeah,
and I love that scheme. It's super clean, especially like those little tiny tick marks above the headband area on the helmet. Like all the buttons and things are just awesome. Like they just look ready to defend the Senate. Like they look great.
Yeah, I really love the fine red lines down the legs and the nice black lining between the plates on the armor. You can see it like on the legs and the knee plates. It's just really clean, really nice looking minis.
Yeah, no doubt. Very, very cool. All right, let's see if we can check out the next one.
Well, here we've got a Rebel Trooper by Brio Brush. Don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced, but great looking miniature. The eyes really pop out at me. That's the thing. First thing that I notice on this miniature, and I always try and make the face a focal point on my miniatures, and they've done a really wonderful job here. My eyes are drawn right there. The mustache it's got great highlights in the pants. Just this is a beautiful miniature. A lot of love put into it, and I would love to see this whole army finish on the table.
Oh, no kidding, right?
Phenomenal.
The precision on the highlights is like awesome.
Yeah, right.
Like really tight. Like even like little tiny highlights on the boot. That belt buckle's even got like this really cool kind of like non-metallic metal effect on it.
Yeah,
Just really crisp highlights and just really shows
really
a lot
nice,
of
great
control. Very,
yeah,
very cool.
really nice gradients in very small areas. Very, very, really impressive. Beautiful miniature. And then I think we got one more to show off.
Yeah, totally. Oh, this is my favorite. If I was going to do clones tomorrow, this is the scheme that I would choose.
Oh yeah, that is rad.
Yeah, do you remember this episode where they're on Ryloth
Mm-hmm.
and like they're trying to like outlast a separatist attack because there's like a blockade, I think, and they're trying to like break through. I won't give any spoilers or anything, but this is Captain Keeley is I think it's a captain. This super cool character, and I love the kind of like ram's horn like design on the helmet and like the brown markings and things on there. Just so cool. Just like I love that scheme. I think it looks great on the clones, and I think this was perfectly realized. Definitely.
Yeah, and I love the hologram in his hands. It's a nice blue. It goes really well with that maroon. It's just top notch. Really, really, really like this.
Yeah.
And thanks to everyone that shared their miniatures with us and used the hashtag. Like, we really love seeing the stuff that you're working on alongside us. It helps me keep going to know that other people are coming along for the ride and painting their own armies. So thanks. And if you haven't yet, like, put your stuff up. We'd love to see it. We'd love to see what everyone's working on.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure. And there's also, just to remind everybody else, we're doing monthly challenges as well. This month, the theme is all core units. So you can either use, or you can use both really, gathering forces. And then for your core units, you can use My Star Wars Legion as the hashtag when you're posting the social. And then we'll go through and we'll select some favorites at the end of the month for that. And then, just show off the work of the community, man. You guys are doing such a great job of painting miniatures, and I really appreciate the fact that you're posting everything and inspiring other people. So it's just cool. Great to see.
All right. So the rocks on your base, your bases always impress me.
Oh,
are those actual rocks, or is that something else?
Yeah.
There?
It's just pieces of slate. I find that slate has like a really good tooth to it, and like they're largely flat, so they don't create like these big giant kind of humps in the base, I guess. Yeah, and I like this is kind of the standard scheme because it matches the terrain that I have at home. So it's kind of like these bluish rocks and kind of a sandy color. I think like the last step and something that I typically wait to do until the very end is I'll apply like some static grass tufts and stuff to it that I think it adds like a very nice kind of finishing touch to the miniatures. But yeah, I just I actually you can get it in certain places in the world readily, but I just ordered like a big bag of it off online. And I've used that same bag of slate, and I think I bought like 2 or 3 different sizes. I've been using that for like 6 years at this point, and I think it cost me, I don't know, like $10, something like that. And I just keep trying to get to the bottom of it at some point. I guess I need to paint more miniatures.
The sand that I use for my bases is from a 50-pound bag of sand that I purchased at a hardware store. And I've carried it with me for about 10 years now, and it's not even half empty. So that was a good purchase, and my bases are going to look the same for the rest of my life. But that's okay.
That's all right. That's all right. I think when I get to my next army, I think I might branch out and do something a little bit different because I've kind of used the same basing scheme a couple times, and Will's touched on this on his streams in the past. It's like I think that basing is like such a defining characteristic. Like it sets the tone, it tells its own story. I think it's something that a lot of players don't really think that much about. But if you're really looking to add more visual interest, I think that the bases are a great place to start.
I agree with that. I think and they're also just a lot of fun, right? You get to be a maker. You get to build something and make it look exactly the way you want it to. You can use pieces of other miniatures. You could bust up a battle droid or have a battle droid's head just floating on the ground, or a dropped rifle, anything. You can tell your own story with the base. Yeah,
for sure. I did a little basing tutorial during Mini Stravaganza. I think it's backed up on YouTube.
Oh, I'll check it out.
Laying foundations, I think is what it's called.
I missed that.
It's just all about basing techniques, and I kind of took the same miniature and just did a bunch of different base schemes. I think there's a lava scheme and a snow scheme, and it's like there's so many different ways you can go about it. That was just one stab at it, one relatively simple way. But yeah, people might find it interesting. They want to check it out. There are a number of other amazing tutorials online that people can always check out if you just search out baking techniques online. A lot of great ideas. Yeah, if you haven't branched out and tried to do some cool scenic basing for your miniatures, yeah, give it some serious consideration. I think you'll find it to be very enjoyable and have a dramatic effect on the look of your minis.
And if it's daunting, just start with a commander or something, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm painting Darth Vader. Let's make a special base for Darth Vader.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Go for it. And that way you're not biting off more than you can chew, and you can take it at your own pace.
Totally.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah, this purple fade's getting done. I'm liking that. All right, let's start to block in some more green, I guess.
Yeah, Oh, go ahead. I was just saying that I'm going through and I'm doing a second coat with a couple of these inks, just to get a little more richness in this gray. It didn't come out as dark as I wanted it to, so I'm going to try and handle that by glazing it over with some black ink.
Oh, nice. Glazing is a cool technique. I've always enjoyed that for and for those people that don't know, it's essentially using like transparent layers of paint over top. Like you thin it way down, and you're using it almost like a filter over top of the existing paints, and it's largely intended to skew the color in one direction or the other. So as opposed to a wash or a shade that is designed to fall into the recesses, a glaze is really intended to rest on the raised areas of the miniature and skew the color in one direction or the other, or smooth out your highlights, like if you layered up your highlights to kind of bring them all together and make them harmonious. And it's a fun technique to mess around with. Yeah, for sure. I've kind of been doing a little bit of glazing here on the back, where I've just taken like really thin purple and kind of blended it down into the lower portions.
What are you going to be you going to be working on next for this army? Do you have your
Snap Riders? Snap Riders are up next.
Nice.
Yeah, they're cool. I haven't even built them yet, so that's going to be probably this weekend's project.
Cool.
Outside of, if I can finish the Droidicas tonight, then I think Saturday I am looking at doing Snap Rider assembling, getting the bases and stuff made for them.
Nice.
And then Sunday I got a painting party with some buddies. We're all getting together and painting miniatures to try to get some stuff finished. So
that's awesome.
In-person hangout. Everybody's all vaccinated, and we're all very excited to get hanging out again.
Good for you, man. That's great. So I'm going to be working on my Wookiees next, and I know I'm going to regret it, but I'm going to do them each with a different color of fur.
Oh, I love it. Very nice. Well, that'll be cool too, because I think a number of people haven't seen all of the new poses. We'll have more information on that release coming up. That kit has got a lot of options in it. It's really cool.
It's so cool. Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
So people will love to see some more options available to them. I think we showed off the on May the 4th. We showed off the Shield Bearer guy.
Yeah, this is last Wednesday. This guy's coming along real well here. Just trying to see if there's anything else I want to hit before.
Well, yeah, we're almost out of time. So make your decision, good sir.
Yeah, well,
how will you close out the day?
I think just by probably just cleaning this up, it's going to need a little bit of time to dry before I can responsibly go and do my highlights. I don't want to fall into that trap I was talking about where I try and highlight right on top of wet paint.
Yeah, unless it's by design and you're trying to do some fancy blendy stuff. I am finishing out my day painting these little Droideka feet green.
I'm going to, you know what? I will also finish out with some feet. We're going to just try and get some more detail on these boots.
We check the chat, make sure we're not missing anything. Oh, and we do have 2 more minutes, but no, we unfortunately do not have any cards in the queue. We'll have plenty of stuff coming up in the coming weeks. Like I mentioned before, it's going to be a lot of Trident reveals next week and the week after. Then we're going to start moving into Yoda and Wookiees. Unannounced things. Yeah, there's new stuff on the horizon for sure.
I'm really excited to finish this guy. Really, really excited.
Well, he's going to play a pivotal part in your force for sure. He's going to be a big part of the whole thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's the leader.
He is the leader. Issuing orders to Luke Skywalker. Who'd have thought?
Luke who? I'm Jeff Brexler.
Jeff Brexler. That is the best name. Do like. All right. Well, I think that wraps up another edition of Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. Thank you all so much for joining us. We will be back next week. We stream every day, Tuesday through Friday. Lots of new things going on. We're going to be coming back next week. I know Dallas and Will are continuing to work on their Marvel Crisis Protocol rosters. I think all the voting is closed, so I think all of the miniatures are now decided. They might reveal their 10th picks, but we'll see that on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to have another edition of Gathering Forces, another pairing of the four of us getting together and working on our Legion armies. And Thursday and Friday will come more of the same. So we're excited to keep on painting, and thanks again for joining us all. We will catch you next time.